Greetings, traveler.
Let's have a look at all the new pirate stuff revealed today. Cruise Controlman, which has fantastic artwork. I love the hat on a hat. It's like, I'm a pirate and a captain, but I'm still a pirate. Death Rattle. For the rest of the combat, after you summon a pirate, give a plus for attack. So this is absolutely set up for the Pirate ixxdeee. For those of you who don't know what that is, that's essentially playing with Eliza and then lots of scallywags with the help of Titus Ribbon there. You get loads more spawns and this will give those spawns more damage. Ice Fisher is a nice addition to APM pirates. After you buy a minion, gain stats equal to its tier. So that is just an extremely time efficient way to add stats because now you can just buy a bunch of 6-drops and this thing will grow like crazy. This is perfect for those games where you have more money than time and you can just buy some 6-drops to spend your cash. Gift Pilferer is a tier 2 swabby, but permanent, which is really cool. Upgrading the tavern costs 1 less. Assuming that you can use this gold efficiently, this could save you 3-4 gold throughout the game, which for a 2-drop is fantastic. Really nice. Sky Pirate Flagbearer. Again, we see that nod to ixxdeee. Give your other pirates Death Rattle, summon a 1/1 pirate. It attacks immediately. So this is effectively the Scallywag Death Rattle, especially in combination with the Cruise Control and the usual ixxdeee pieces. This is really nice. Essentially, you can put the Cruise Control first, have it taunted, and then not only is it going to buff all your Scallywags, it's also immediately going to spawn a Scallywag. If you have a Titus, both those Death Rattles go off ×2. Eliza on the board, buff, buff, buff. So this is crazy, right? They really want that archetype to come back. So lots more support for the Pirate ixxdeee build. For returning or changed minions, we have Primate going from tier 4 to 5, still the same text, but now has a 3/9 stat line. I can absolutely see this being a problem because if you are giving a lot of support to the Scallywag Death Rattle build, having a Primate on the board is going to give you lots more money to roll for those pieces. So yes, I can see if you put this on tier 4, it's a little bit too good. So probably a good change. Landlubber is now a tier 3. We've covered that in a previous video. That's mainly because Azurite is now a 4-drop. Busker is back. That is essentially because Swabby is going to be rotated out, and this is a similar card. And then Thorn Captain is back, which has already been covered in the Kibler video. For our removed minions, we have Underhanded Dealer, which essentially gets replaced by the new tier 6 pirate that grows every time you buy a minion from its tier. Seems fine. This is going to essentially be your new huge pirate that you want to play Balladist on, etc. Gambler is out, which is really sad because this has sort of been the iconic, I always buy this card because I can sell it for the same value, super good in pirates, but now you have the additional gold generation early with the sort of permanent Swabby, and then we see Swabby being traded out for Busker. For lesser trinkets, we have Windrunner Necklace. Your leftmost minion has +8 attack in combat. When you first read this, you might say, wow, how is this a trinket? It seems worthless, etc. But it says your leftmost minion, and you always have a leftmost minion. So this is an aura buff that is going to shift every time something dies. Again, when you are playing the Scallywag build, you will have lots of tokens, and every time it's attacking, right, assuming that it was on the left, it's going to have that +8 damage. So very good. Booty Bay Brew, whenever you spend gold, give a friendly pirate +1/+2. Seems okay. I'm not that interested in locking in early, but if you happen to have a pirate cleave on the board, this is fantastic because it's an easy way to force all your buffs on it because you can just have no other pirates, and then suddenly you have a big cleave and you can power level and do all kinds of cool stuff afterwards. Ship in a Bottle. Start of combat, get and summon a random pirate. It attacks immediately. Whew. This is a little bit of a reminder to boat. Now it doesn't say when you have board space, so I'm assuming that you have to leave a board space. I don't know if this is going to be limited by tier. The fact that it shows boat makes me think that you could get an Eliza on tier 3, which is a little scary that you could spawn an Eliza, attack immediately, buff your whole board, maybe the Eliza lives. Other than that, for 4 gold and I have to leave a board space, this seems a little weird. Imagine if I just get a Busker and I attack and I deal 3 damage. Okay, cool. I have to leave a board space, and I have to pay 4 gold for this thing when I get it. I'm not so sure. Maybe I'm missing something here, but at face value, this doesn't look that great to me. Ceremonial Sword. Whenever a friendly minion attacks, give it 4 attack. So essentially like Rip Snarl, but not limited to pirates. Can be okay in general, but again, this is more of a support for this pirate ixxdeee type, so it's really a thing they're trying to push. Lots of summons in the combat, lots of extra attack. So if you're in a pirate lobby and you get this offered, but you also happen to have some minions on the board that spawn a lot of cards, so a lot of death rattle stuff, can make use of this as well. And then we see Kodo Leather Pouch, which was also introduced in the Elemental video, which obviously makes a lot of sense for pirates if you're buying and selling a lot of stuff. Again, I'm not too excited to pick this up early. It's more something that I'll take if I'm not too happy with the other choices. Fancy Spellbook. After you spend 7 gold, get a random Terran spell. So 7 gold might seem like a bit of a weird number, but I think it's actually an okay amount because it really emulates a Seafarer. So essentially what this is 3 gold, get a Seafarer on your board that doesn't take up a board slot. Which, if you have support, mainly Tethys and Bran, this can be quite good because now you're generating loads of extra gold, and all you need is to have enough extra value to reach the threshold where money is no longer the limiting factor. Now you can really pop off, right? If you have double Tethys and a Bran, essentially you're going to be infinite with this because you're going to buy and sell minions, which is going to spend gold like crazy. You get a bunch of extra Terran spells, and then you can essentially do what you want from that point. Especially if you have a couple of those tier 6 pirates that gets buffed every time you buy 6 drops, you can quite easily build huge minions with that kind of a setup. Windrunner Necklace, the upgraded version. Your leftmost minion has 20 plus attack in combat. Wow, okay, if you have a really nice Scallywag ixxdeee build, this is nutty. 20 extra attack is no joke. There are many Scallywags attacking, especially if you have a Golden Titus and you have the tier 5 pirate that summons 3 Scallywags, and then you have the tier 4 pirate that makes your whole board a Scallywag. Yeah, that's a lot of damage. Even in a meta where it's quite easy to build high health, most builds are going to succumb to this if every single Sky Pirate is going to deal at least 21 damage, and probably quite a bit more because you'll have Eliza on the board. Designer Eye Patch. Wow, so much love for pirates, and that's great because pirates have not been good the past few months, and maybe even longer than that. Now this is essentially Pilfered Lamps, but just for pirates, but that's still really good. Pilfered Lamps is a quest reward that would essentially just win you the game when it's active and you didn't immediately die. Because what tends to happen is if you only need 2 copies to make a triple, you get a lot of triple rewards. And with that, you tend to make a lot of golden 6 drops, and golden 6 drops tend to win the game. So in this particular case, you're really going to use this to hunt for Tethys and then make golden Tethys and then just hit infinite status. And once you hit infinite status, you can do whatever you want. Right, you can make your golden brand, you can use this to get a bunch of balladists and then trigger the battle cry on the balladist. It'll be golden quite easily. You can play one, buy the other, now it's golden, bam, bam, value. So yeah, super good. If you're in a setup where you're not going to immediately die for taking this, I would heavily recommend to try it because it's so much fun. Speaking of balladist, we have the balladist portrait, which in comparison to what we just saw, this is like, oh gee, for 1 fewer gold, I get a balladist instead of, you know, winning the game. Now, I get it. It's maybe a little bit unfair to put anything next to this thing because the eye patch is great. This is okay if you have a setup, right? You have your brand, you have your Tethys, but most of the time, if you're in a position where you are, you know, popping off, you are infinite, you have so much money, I would really like something else than just 1 balladist per turn. Now, don't get me wrong. It's nice to have a balladist every turn. And because you know you'll get another one, you could even force triples with this and then start your turn, combine the balladist, and then trigger battle cry on it. But there seem to be a lot of greater trinkets that can really take much more advantage of that kind of a position rather than, oh, here is a balladist every turn. Booty Bay Brew. Whenever you spend gold, give a friendly pirate +2/+4. That's okay, but for the most part, it's like a Peggy and a half, sort of, which is fine. But the reason you might say, oh, it's a little bit hypocritical, I'm not that excited about, you know, 1.5 Peggies. I guess, you know, it's a golden, you know, we have to give it its due. Golden Peggy is 2/2, so this is still, but cards to the hand is a bit easier than spending gold, so it might even out. If you compare it to the fancy spellbook, you might say, oh, well, why are you more excited about this? This is because this gives me extra money, and with extra money, I'm more likely to go infinite. This does not. This just gives me extra stats. And for the most part, I just want to have more resources so I have a higher chance of pushing towards infinite pirates, because then I can build whatever I want and counter my opponent perfectly. This doesn't quite do that. So not super excited about this, more something that I'm just going to take if I'm not too happy with the other choices. And then Shaman Prayer Beads, we talked about earlier in the, I believe the Elemental video, but maybe it was another one. After you buy 2 Battlecry minions, get a random one. Again, that fits perfectly. Very similar to the book we talked about earlier, where you spend 7 gold, get a spell. This is buy 2 Battlecries, get a random one. Works super well with having Tethys, works super well with having Bran. Lots of chance to push towards infinite status. Then we have Elementium Chest, which is support for the ixxdeee build. Again, very nice. I'm not complaining. I love that that's going to be a thing again. After 3 friendly pirates attack, gain 1 gold. Similar to the monkey, where during the combat you're gaining gold for next turn, but this can't get sniped. You just want to have lots of pirates attacking. So if you have Golden Titus with a Recruiter, Scallywags, that minion, the new 4-drop that makes all your minions have Death Rattle, summon a pirate, yeah, you can imagine that you can farm quite a bit of gold with that, especially if your Golden Titus survives for a longer time. The funny thing is that once you have your build online, you don't really need extra money with this. So usually, you know, back in the day when this was first introduced, Khadgar was a card, and you could really make this build super good by having more golden Khadgars, because you would just spawn, you know, so many Scallywags per, or Sky Pirates per Scallywag. Now, I guess what you can do now is you can hunt for your Golden Eliza, you can try to get a second Golden Titus or whatnot. So it's not like the gold is wasted, but it's not quite as good as other builds. Let's say Caligos, if you give Caligos a bunch of extra money, that's just more battle cries and I'll get more stuff. For an ixxdeee build, once you have your pieces, you're kind of just done. But yeah, it's always nice to make sure that you can complete your build, all that extra money. And then we have the upgraded Coda Litter Pouch, which again is +4/+4 to a random minion. Fine if you're APMing, right? That's just fine. But again, I don't, you know, it doesn't give me extra resources. So in general, I'm not that excited about these type of trinkets. That's it for pirates. Make sure to tune back in tomorrow for the Undead reveal.